This is the story of how an Android enthusiast almost didn't want to switch back from iPhone. This is the review of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I debated several different methodologies on how to best evaluate this device. On one hand, I considered evaluating not just the device, but the ecosystem surrounding it. On the other hand, just the device itself. Furthermore, how technical should the review be? Is it valuable to people to rattle off details from a spec sheet? Well, a device shouldn't need an additional set of gadgets to succeed, and you hit a four-figure price point, you're only paying for specs to a certain extent. When you're shelling out $1,000+ for a phone, you're not just paying for hardware, you're paying for the associated experience with it. So that's how I evaluated the iPhone 11 Pro Max. How is the experience for $1,100 US? How does it compare to namely Samsung's $1,100 experience? Switching from a Note 10 Plus, a transitional period is always in order. After getting my bearings in iOS and loading all of my apps I use on a daily basis, I was on my way in what is an experience that I found incredibly hard to actually dislike. Setting up Face ID is a breeze. A few head tilts later, my phone was secured by a 99% consistent authentication system that even works at night and is sufficiently fast. A much better track record than the woes I've experienced with the ultrasonic reader on Samsung's latest flagships. I don't wait for the phone to unlock, it's good to go when I am. For more elaboration on that issue, check out our Samsung S10 Plus review. By this point, I was well acquainted with the display on the iPhone 11 Pro, and it is absolutely gorgeous. This is by far the best iPhone display yet, and Apple nearly totally knocked it out of the park with their third attempt at implementing an OLED display on their phones. The color accuracy and sharpness is the best it's ever been, and HDR content looks beautiful on the phone's XDR display. The remarkably high contrast ratio and brightness the screen provides makes the display almost second to none. My one core disappointment with the display is the lack of an always-on feature. This is one of my favorite aspects about Samsung's devices, and despite the iPhone 11 Pro being Apple's third iteration of an OLED panel, and the feature being present on the Apple Watch Series 5 that are released alongside with it, it is still noticeably absent on the iPhone 11 Pro. The only physical inhibitor on the display is the notch. The notch, while a comparatively dated design to the pinhole camera idea, I didn't find as annoying as I thought I would, considering how well implemented it actually is. Content and apps don't get cut off by the notch, a phenomena I routinely experienced on my Note 10 Plus while looking at pictures on Twitter. It's symmetrical, and it divvies up the time and connection information on either end. Swipe down from the top of the phone or the left side of the notch to access notifications, and from the right side to access the control center. I would have really appreciated the option to switch which sides pull down what, as I'm right-handed and will want to access my notifications a lot more than the control center. Apple didn't see it fit to provide that option. And that, right there, is really the primary issue with the device. Apple's experience is so streamlined that it only really fails when the user wants to go just a little bit past surface-level customization. Don't get me wrong, Apple provides a great, fairly comprehensive experience for their users, but to a company so seemingly focused on individuality, their phones are homogeneous by comparison to not only Samsung, but Android in general. You still can't hide unused apps entirely from the home screen. Widgets have a very down and dirty implementation. I can't set custom gestures, which, when considering how many steps it takes to actually call someone, I would really appreciate a gesture to quickly do so. I can't customize the color or size or style of my lock screen clock, and I could go on and on about these little customizability features that Android has had for years, but Apple is still lacking. To make this point may seem like beating a dead horse, as every review of an Apple device features this critique, but needs to be said anyway. What I believe this comes down to is Apple being too safe, or rather, Apple following in...
Smells like burnt popcorn.
You trying to write? Oh, okay. Andrew, you burnt the popcorn! What I believe this seems to come down to is Apple being too safe. Or rather, Apple following an Apple knows best type of philosophy, which, to be fair, has its own merits as well. For example, I appreciate not having to fiddle with power optimization settings just to get app notifications to appear in a timely manner. I appreciate not having to worry about setting different screen resolutions and color modes, True Tone notwithstanding. What I don't appreciate is Apple seemingly knowing best which app I definitely want to use to do something, and sorry Apple, it's not Safari. Yeah, you can't set default apps or shit, so like you want to open something in browser, it's Safari. Yeah, the only time I get to use Firefox is if I manually go to Firefox. Despite all of this, there's still a lot to love about this device. Overkill waterproofing, an unmatched feel in the hand due to a matte glass finish on the back, and a stainless steel side rails. Bezels that aren't razor thin so as to accidentally touch some random thing on the bottom of the screen when reaching across. Battery life that makes the inclusion of the 18-watt fast charger a little bit more easier to stomach, and what I would call an industry-leading array of cameras. The new square cutout aside, the iPhone 11 Pro offers the best smartphone camera experience on the market right now. The capability to record incredibly well-stabilized 4K 60 FPS footage on sensors ranging from ultra-wide to telescopic, and having consistent and accurately tuned colors on every sensor as well is insane, even to a camera normie like myself. Even walking downhill, the optical stabilization on the iPhone does an incredible job even on the selfie cam. I also appreciate that Apple finally lets you change recording resolutions and frame rates in the app, and a neat little detail is that the device shows you what the next lens is seeing in little previews hidden beneath the camera control UI. While iPhones have arguably always provided a better video experience than their Android counterparts, the iPhone 11 Pro doesn't lose ground in the still photo department either. Especially with the now implemented Deep Fusion processing tech, the iPhone 11 Pro is going toe-to-toe with the best cameras in the Android space, like on the Pixels and the Notes. Yes, the stills do occasionally miss, that is, over or under tune the colors, but I didn't experience this problem nearly enough to ding metaphorical points off. My biggest complaint about the camera is quite simply the fact that I can't manually toggle on night mode, yet another case of Apple knows best coming into play and resulting in a slightly soured experience. So, taking a look back at the overall experience Apple provides, I'm left with a lot of good things. A very fast, snappy, virtually out-of-the-box experience that is overall very well refined and works well for 90% of users. There's certainly something to be said for this sort of experience. It's the type of thing where if someone hadn't experienced something different prior, they could easily, and justifiably, consider Apple's experience the best experience out there. And as previously mentioned before, when you're dropping 4 figures on a phone, you're not just paying for the hardware, you're paying for the experience of it. The experience with Apple is something that's fairly predefined and set in an attempt to simplify the experience in order to best cater to most users. The experience with Samsung is something much more loosely defined, with Samsung and the Android space in general allowing for an almost tedious amount of customizability, even in areas I don't think should be up to the user to customize. Apple, by comparison, plays things very safe. I previously mentioned the always-on feature, or lack thereof in this case, but can also talk about how Apple doesn't give you anything cool for having the Max or Plus versions of their phones. You don't get a taller aspect ratio, or maybe other bonuses like allowing rows of 5 for apps. The only bonus you get for buying a large iPhone is, well, having a large iPhone. Briefly talking about the moniker Pro tacked onto this generation of iPhones, I got to considering the question, what Pro would use an iPhone 11 Pro? And a dichotomy was found. The iPhone 11 Pro seems to be targeted more at artistic creators, that is, professionals who primarily deal in video or photo work. Its array of over-the-top camera sensors drive that point home, and its masterclass in video filming compound the point further. Combined with the easeability of AirDrop that seamlessly transfers files between your other Apple devices, and you have a device that screams, "Leave your camera at home." Comparing to another Pro phone, like the Note 10 Plus, and although it features a built-in video editor that can be used with great precision due to the included S Pen, the Note 10 Plus isn't nearly as suited for video work as the iPhone 11 Pro is, due to its higher resolution, taller size, and taller aspect ratio, and of course the obvious giveaway of the S Pen. The Note 10 Plus finds its home in the hands of professionals who primarily deal with text-based work. It's not that the Note 10 Plus is a better or worse device for pros, but rather a matter of preference and suiting use cases. Whether or not you prefer Apple or Android's experience is now, more so than it's ever been, a personal preference. One that will appeal to different types of users is no longer clear-cut black and white as it used to be just a few years prior. My time with the iPhone 11 Pro really drove that point home. It's not necessarily a better or worse experience, but a different experience that some people might prefer. There's a lot to love about the iPhone 11 Pro. The brilliant display, the polished haptic feedback, the dummy thick battery, the list goes on. But it's just not quite enough for me to switch for my Note 10 Plus. It's not to say the screen on the iPhone 11 Pro is bad, I just prefer the one on the Note 10 Plus. It's not like there's really a problem with not being able to hide unused apps on the iPhone, but I prefer being able to on Android. And it's not that the iPhone's notification organization system is bad, I just prefer the notification system from my Note 10 Plus. And that's really what it's about. What experience do you prefer? Leave a comment down below and let us know. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more great content, and if video games are more your thing, head on over to our affiliate cultureofgaming.com for all your gaming news and reviews needs. I'm Taylor, and I'll see you next time.